Thursday, March 20th, 1986. An elite team of former SEAL Team 6 operators stormed through the gates of a naval base in Seal Beach, California. Armed to the teeth, the secret unit, codenamed Red Cell, took on hostages and interrogated admirals during a controversial mission to test the security and readiness of American military bases. This rogue unit acted with impunity as they successfully overtook 14 bases during their top-secret clandestine operation, and everything was videotaped. In the early 80s, the United States faced several terroristic-based events, from the 1983 Beirut MC bombing in Lebanon to a Marine barracks bombing in Beirut of that same year, coupled by hijacking after hijacking all across the globe, creating a geopolitical nightmare, in addition to the ongoing nightmare of the Cold War. And with a hyper-fixation on the Cold War among the homeland, the only program reinforcing realistic combat readiness within the Navy was the Red Flag program, where pilots put their skills to the test against Tom Cruise, just kidding, where pilots put their skills to the test against Soviet-style aircraft and also Tom Cruise. But with terror on the rise and the potential repercussions of only a handful of bad actors plotting an attack on homeland installations, the United States Navy proposed a program to prepare itself and its most sensitive assets for just that scenario. And by the summer of 1984, New Jersey native and SEAL Team 6 founder, commander, and legend Richard Marcinko relinquished command of DevGru to Commander Robert Gormley in order to develop this highly secretive Naval Special Warfare program alongside Admiral Ace Lyons. Marcinko, dubbed the Maverick of Special Operations, was a highly decorated Navy SEAL and the perfect candidate to run such a program.
During the 1970s, most Americans lived in ignorance or denial of the worldwide terrorist threat.
Marcinko understood the vast vulnerabilities of American bases and facilities, which inevitably fell victim to complacency. Marcinko was dead set on physically testing the effectiveness of security measures, access controls, surveillance systems, and response protocols put in place and typically maintained by NIS. He knew the popular perception of military bases being impenetrable was a far cry from reality, and set out to replace the deterrence of perception with the deterrence of practical capability. The only way he knew how was by putting boots on the ground and putting the world's most capable Navy, its sailors and its brass, to the test. Their mission was to remain clandestine and covert, to simulate hostage situations, take over key installations, interrogate personnel, and plant mock explosives near sensitive government assets. His mission charter was approved and signed off by the Secretary of the Navy, and as Red Cell received the green light, Marcinko drafted 13 former SEAL Team 6 operators and 1 Force Recon Marine. Unloaded or chambered with blanks, the team carried real weapons, consisting of M9 Berettas, oiled with olive oil. You got your classic MP5s, and then you got the experimental HK SMG2. I mean, dude, that's pretty bussin'. The team also carried handheld cameras to capture every aspect of each event, to provide visual evidence of their breaches and assessments. And by the fall of 1984, Red Cell turned the Navy upside down. The Navy allocated a budget of $3 million per year. That's right, the Navy gave a bunch of spec ops dudes $3 million in beer and gas money to steamroll our own government, with only one vague rule, which was just don't unalive anybody. Isn't that ridiculous? I don't think so. On September 21st, in Groton, Connecticut, the Red Cell team targeted the construction site of the Navy's nuclear submarines. Protected by a limited number of state contract police, the area was asking for trouble, as the only other force capable of responding in the event of an emergency relied on the local authorities already tied up with day-to-day crime. Marcinko and his team took advantage, entered the water, and beached a nearby shipyard. They then hopped the fence in the dark alongside the pier and mugged a group of pier guards several yards ahead. The team then put on the uniforms of the pier guards, entered the bow, and boarded the tender, where they overtook the ship completely before revealing. The team then moved on to Norfolk, Virginia, where they stormed the gates and took prisoners into a gymnasium. One of the hostages became frustrated and identified himself as the admiral in charge, at which point the operators grinned and took the admiral into a locker room, where they slapped him around and gave him a hot and cold shower until he broke down in tears, a punishment for being a dumbass and identifying himself as the Admiral. They would then practice breaking into military jails by concealing weapons in their crotch to highlight the fact that male officers were purposefully avoiding crotch checks when patting down prisoners. In Charleston, South Carolina, Marcinko walked straight onto the base, using the exit side while wearing a hard hat and carrying nothing but construction materials, and nobody stopped him. He'd then see his comrades in at midnight and wake up a group of sleeping sailors in the barracks at 3 o'clock in the morning. They would interrogate the men, demand sensitive information, and then just straight up troll the shit out of them by making them PT until 6 o'clock in the morning. They would then move on to raid the airstrip, where they hijacked a plane and all the brass waiting to board. They would even become notorious for planting bombs near sensitive installations, including Air Force One and other sensitive sites, like this dude right here just soloing a nuclear power plant. Next, Red Cell swept Naval Weapons Station Seal Beach in Southern California, where they kidnapped a civilian contracted security guard named Ron Sheridan. Sheridan's wife, in the area at the time of the confrontation, confronted the operators, but Sheridan relayed to his wife that it was merely a training exercise. They then took him to a nearby hotel, where they held him for 30 hours, stripped his clothes, roughed him up, and repeatedly dunked him into a bathtub. What the fuck? Yeah, no, babe, I heard about these guys. It's just training. They're called Red Cell. It's really cool, actually. I'll see you home for dinner. The totality of these successful operations caused an internal political uproar, as angered and embarrassed high-ranking officials went straight to NSW and filed a laundry list of complaints against Red Cell. And to make matters worse, since Sheridan was a civilian and not naval personnel, he filed a major lawsuit against the United States Navy, marking the beginning of the end of Red Cell. Naval facilities across the nation remained on high alert as Red Cell not only shook up the branch, but hundreds of officers within its brass, who not only claimed the program to be useless, but claimed they were never bested in the first place out of pride. Marcinko refuted their claims by providing the videotapes that proved otherwise. However, this only escalated the situation. Budgets were cut, the program was scaled back and reduced to tabletop war games. The Navy came down hard on Marcinko. By 1989, he'd served 15 months in federal prison after he allegedly conspired with an Arizona arms dealer to receive a commission for securing a government handgun contract. Marcinko denied these claims and attributed the scandal to a witch hunt by the Navy's highest-ranking officers. He would later go on to write an autobiography titled Rogue Warrior and run a successful private security consulting firm based out of DC. Despite the controversies surrounding his career, Richard Marcinko remains a legendary figure in the special operations community, credited with shaping and elevating the capabilities of Navy SEALs forever.
Everybody ready to go? Yeah. All right, let's go.
They felt it was unfair to do those, to highlight those kind of things. And then the Navy was paying about $3 million a year to fly us everywhere, and our equipment and our explosives and all that stuff. So eventually it reduced itself to almost a staff operation, and not so the bad guys can do whatever they want now.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to learn more about some Red Cell dudes, check out this video I did a while back where a former Red Cell operator goes full Neil McCauley. And be sure to check out the new merch exclusively on Ethos Threads, a veteran-owned and operated company. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.